Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe. This is the news. It is Friday morning. We are live, so hit the like button and get your comments in. Also, hit subscribe if you haven't already. We go live every single time there is breaking news, so you want to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell as well so you see all of it first. We've got loads of news coming up today. We've got the latest on Sesko Ziyech is being rumoured to Manchester United. We'll look at how that is unfolding, whether those deals are looking likely. Apparently there's a concrete offer for Sesko, according to an outlet in Slovenia. We'll also be looking at the TeamViewer latest Man United sponsors. I mean, it's the latest in a long line of disgruntled Manchester United shirt sponsors. Join the club, TeamViewer. Do you know what I mean? We'll talk about a little bit about the Chevrolet deal and how that ended as well. But before we get into all that, let's start with this deal surrounding Hakim Ziyech, obviously a former Ten Hag player, former Ajax player. This is coming in the last 24 hours from Nabil Djellit, who is a French journalist. He's saying that Manchester United manager Erik Ten Hag wants the club to sign Chelsea attacking midfielder Hakim Ziyech, but members of the recruitment department are not unanimous about his profile, hence the lack of current movement on any possible deal. So he wants him. United's recruitment department are pushing back a little bit. This is where we're looking at almost a standoff, I suppose, between Ten Hag and the board and the recruitment department. Ziyech hasn't been particularly good for Chelsea. Anyone can see that, but he would be someone that would be very cheap. And the problem is, you look at the moment at Manchester United's front line. You've got Anthony Martial, who wants to be a number 9, but I suppose is capable of playing on the left wing. He's done that plenty of times. So on the left wing options, we've got Rashford, Martial, and Elanga. And then on the right, we've got Sancho and Elanga. And that's pretty much it. We've got a very, very young Garnacho who could be up for the first team, might not be ready for that yet. Then we've got Taith Chong, who doesn't seem to be up to the standard that United would want in the Premier League. United are very thin on the wings at the moment. And I would personally prefer Ziyech to play there over Chong, especially if we could get him, for under sort of 15, 20 million. If we get him under that, there were rumours of a sort of 10 to 15 million pound price tag. He joined Chelsea for around 40 million euros, I believe it was, a couple of seasons ago. Let me just check the fee on that. But he joined Chelsea for 40 million euros it was 2 years ago, and has basically been a bit part player ever since. Never hit didn't really hit the ground running. Never sort of adapted to the Premier League the way they would have wanted him to. But maybe Ten Hag could get more out of him. And at 29, again, as a backup option, there was times, a couple of years ago when United wanted Willian, United wanted Pedro, United wanted Perisic. These sorts of, you're just approaching 30, you've had a good career, you can get him on a good fee, you can get him, for relatively low wages. These are decent players to have in the squad. He's played under Ten Hag before. He's won the Champions League. He's a good player. And as a backup option, personally, I would be all for it. I don't think he's a good, he's not going to be taking Sancho's place in the squad, but isn't that kind of perfect? Sancho's a young, up-and-coming winger who needs another season to really, hit the ground at United. And bringing in someone like Ziyech, who wouldn't expect to be a first-team player, but has got experience, I think is almost the perfect signing. He can put a shift in. He might be, we'll probably see the best of him under Ten Hag, and he's not going to be pushing Sancho out the door. For me, it's the sort of signing United should be making. We need numbers in those positions. If Sancho gets injured, and let's say Martial's already injured, if Sancho gets injured, Ten Hag clearly doesn't want to play Ronaldo, and he may well leave. You're looking at a front three of Rashford, Charlie McNeil and Chong. I don't know. I think we're only a couple of injuries away from a really threadbare front line. I think someone like Ziyech makes a lot more sense than, for instance, an Igalo signing, which is the sort of thing we may get backed into by the end of this transfer window if some of these signings don't come off. So he's someone that Ten Hag is interested in, and we'll see how that pans out. Another person that Ten Hag is clearly interested in, all the top journalists around Europe have been reporting this. There has been a concrete offer for Sesko, according to Sport Club in Slovenia. So it says, according to Sport Club in Slovenia, United have now firmed up their interest in the talented 19-year-old with an offer, but Chelsea and PSG have also lodged bids for the striker. Newcastle United, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig are all also interested in the Slovenian hotshot who could leave Austria for the right price, apparently. So a bid has reportedly been made for Sesko. Now, again, I hate to say this because I know he's only 19, and I know it's almost like a bit overplayed at this point, this whole United don't scout players. But isn't it a bit odd that we really upped our interest after he scored against Liverpool? And surely we must have known who he was before then. Surely we must have been interested, You'd think, actually, if you're United scouting department, you think, right, Salzburg have got a friendly against Liverpool in August, or end of July, whenever it was. If he scores against them, his price is getting doubled on the spot. If we want to get this deal done, let's get it done in July, before he plays, I don't know, our biggest rivals, and has a chance to prove to every club in the country, every person in the country on social media, that this guy is worth buying. Because those things do affect the price tag of players. I mean, people think it shouldn't, but look at, who was it who scored all the goals in Euro 2004 and then went to Liverpool and was awful? What was he called? Anyway, it can happen. You score a goal in a friendly, score a goal in an international match, and it can double your price, especially for a 19-year-old like this who people haven't really heard of. And you look at like Manchester United's owners, Chelsea's new owners. These are the sorts of people that will see a player in that kind of game and go, yeah, here you go. We'll give you an extra 30 million for him. I don't think it's silly to suggest that these friendly games, it was Milan Baros, by the way, who I'm thinking of, who scored those goals, and then Liverpool signed him and he was crap. I think he was the top scorer in Euro 2004. These games do matter. And especially when you have like short-sighted, non-football, minded owners, they see him scoring against Liverpool, go, he's good. And then it adds 20 million to his price tag. Why couldn't we get this deal done 6 weeks ago? A 19-year-old from RB Salzburg, you could probably get that wrapped up for 20 million at the start of the window. Now you're looking at 50 million. Everyone's in for him. He's obviously, the worst kept secret in Europe, but apparently United have lodged an official bid for Sesko there. Again, it remains to be seen how that works out. We're up against Chelsea, PSG, Newcastle, Bayern, Borussia Dortmund, and RB Leipzig. So good luck beating all of them to him. But yeah, that's the latest news on Benjamin Sesko there. He looks to be a very good player. I just wish we could have got this deal done 6 weeks ago, before his price tag has presumably tripled over the summer, as all these players tend to do when they score a goal in pre-season. Let's get into some of the comments then. Alistair McHugh says, who still thinks Martial is going to come good? Come on, get real. The thing is, he has been good. He's never going to be a world-class player. I think we can rule that out now. He's not going to be, a 30-plus goal season in, season out player. But he has got, 23 goals 2 years ago? And I think only one of them was penalties. If you're looking, I think that was the year we got about 12 penalties as well, wasn't it? I think we broke the record, or were close to it. If he's taking penalties, even with a relatively poor conversion rate, that's a 30-goal season. So, he had a very good year 2 years ago, but I don't think he's ever going to be, a real top player. But he could be someone that's good enough to score 15 goals, get 12 assists, really, help facilitate a trophy win inside. I think he's that good. We just have to get the best out of him. Santa Notch says, isn't that always the United way to join in late? It seems to be, doesn't it? We'll wait till someone else has scouted him first, and then when he's every single WhatsApp group in Europe is talking about him, we'll stick our noses in as well and go, oh, hang on, who's this young lad? Oh, right, yeah, we'll have him. Well, no, you won't, because Bayern want him. Everyone else wants him now. I don't know. Just it's a frustrating time, I think, as a United fan. We haven't got our main target this summer, Frankie de Jong. Our biggest player wants to leave, but we don't know whether he's going to leave because we've got no one to back him up. The player we want to back him up with is, let's be honest, a 19-year-old who's scored 12 goals in the top flight in Austria isn't someone you should be spending 50 million quid on. That's just the facts, isn't it? Like, we can just say, oh, spend it all you want. That is stupid money for someone that has got the career he has. And I think if we'd have done this differently, we wouldn't have had to spend that kind of money on him personally. I mean, then again, you look at Cucurella and he's just gone for 62 million quid to Chelsea, having had one kind of good season for Brighton. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Before we get too upset at Manchester United's current situation, let's talk about something even worse. This is good. Manchester United dealt 235 million blow. That headline is bullshit, by the way. A sponsor CEO makes statement. This is the news that TeamViewer's has seen more than 70% wiped off its share price since its partnership with the club was announced in March 2021. Round of applause to Manchester United for absolutely shattering the reputation of a once anonymous computer viewing software. So you're welcome, TeamViewer. People know who you are, and they've realised you're shit, and your stock price has absolutely plummeted. You've played yourself. That's what you've done. Manchester United's principal shirt sponsor, TeamViewer, has decided it does not want to renew its sponsorship deal with the club, despite having only signed a 5-year deal last year. The German software company signed a deal worth $235 million in March 2021 to replace Chevrolet on the torso of the United jerseys. TeamViewer's share price has dipped more than 70% since the company's partnership was announced with Manchester United. I tell you what, it's going to be a second round of applause for me. 70% down the Swanee, lads. I love that. United dealt £235 million blow. No. TeamViewer dealt £235 million blow. We've signed the contract. There's no blow to Manchester United. We'll just get another disgruntled sponsor in 4 years' time. And that is off the back, by the way, of... Do you remember when we signed the deal with Chevrolet? You remember it because the logo was the size of the full kit. Right, this is great. So this is an article from 2012, right? The General Motors executive who agreed a record shirt sponsorship deal with Manchester United worth a staggering £175 million has been sacked. Now, when you're thinking this is going to be, TeamViewer have waited, a year into their sponsorship? They've lost 70% of their stock market price. Sure, you'd wait a year. This man was sacked less than 48 hours after the deal with Chevrolet was announced. That's how certain they were that they'd messed up. This guy got sacked. The guy who brokered the Chevrolet deal 10 years ago was sacked because, and I quote, GM executives were furious when they learnt that their company would be paying £6 million a year more than United's current shirt sponsors, Aon. It was also claimed that the man failed to give his bosses full details of the sponsorship before signing the deal. GM have assured Old Trafford that they will not renege on their agreement. So there is a long history of companies spending too much money on their shirt sponsor with Manchester United and being, upset and either sacking their own team or not renewing the sponsorship. So it's good stuff. And, I think Ed Woodward can look back on his time with I hope he's just, sat in France somewhere patting himself on the back for all the big companies that he's screwed over by offering them essentially a worthless shirt sponsorship. I don't know anyone that's used TeamViewer off the back of this sponsorship. I know people that say, I don't like that kit sponsor, but I don't think they've really... it's clear, isn't it? They've lost 70% of their market value. This sponsorship has done absolutely nothing for them, and they won't renew it. And I'm sure United will find some angle that they can give. Maybe the impressions on a tweet. They can throw that in the face of a new sponsor and get another couple $100 million for 5 years worth of sponsorship. That will happen in 4 years' time. Let's move on from that because TeamViewer put a sponsorship on the most volatile, the second most after Barcelona, volatile football club in Europe, and are surprised that it didn't work out for them. Very silly indeed. Barcelona given the green light by George Mendes to begin Frankie de Jong swap deal. I love all of that. So the story here is that apparently Barcelona have been given the green light to sign Manchester City star Bernardo Silva this summer by the player's agent George Mendes. The arrival of Silva would be as a de facto replacement for Frankie de Jong, who's been handed a 10-day deadline, apparently, over an exit this summer window, with both Manchester United and Chelsea pursuing a deal. Obviously, that's where United come into the story. It comes after United's boss, Erik ten Hag, instructed United to remain patient on a deal after holding fresh talks with the player. While United have agreed an initial fee with Barcelona over a transfer which would reunite de Jong with his former boss, the Blues chief have made contact with Barca and held discussions with de Jong's representatives, and apparently, according to the Mirror, are now strong contenders to sign him from under Manchester United's noses. The idea is here that they want Bernardo Silva, Barca want Bernardo Silva, City want Frankie de Jong, apparently. But it's very interesting here because it says here that the Blues chief has made contact with Barca and held discussions and are now strong contenders to sign him. But all of this article is written as though Chelsea are the club that own Bernardo Silva's contract. So it says, with both Man United and Chelsea pursuing a deal, Erik ten Hag remains confident. There's almost no mention of Manchester City in this article. It's very, very odd. It's written like Bernardo Silva plays for Chelsea. Presumably, this would be a swap deal to take him to Manchester City. I don't quite understand this. I don't think City need him. I don't think City particularly would want him. The only thing they've got is Bernardo Silva, and I think they want the money for Bernardo Silva. I don't see why City would. Again, it's almost like it makes sense. Well, you've got a player and we've got a player, and they're quite similar players, but we want yours a bit more. Okay, well, a swap deal must happen then. I don't think it must happen. I don't know why City would want Frenkie de Jong. And again, this Barcelona given green light by George Mendes, as though it's not up to the player or the club. It's up to the agent of one of the two players. It all is a bit odd, this, to me. I'm not particularly certain I believe that this is likely. I think Barca want money, personally. I know, obviously, wages and those sorts of things turn into money when you swap players. If they're saving money on his contract, that is a fee that they can probably put down on their books. I think, they want 70 million more than they want his wages. Maybe they'll do what they did. It was Pjanic and Artur, wasn't it, between Barcelona and Juventus, where they both spent 65 million on the players, but basically it was a swap deal. And they declared the 65 million that they earned from the deal as this year's money, and they declared the 65 million that they spent on the deal as being staggered over the next 5 years. So basically, it was some crafty accounting to make it look as though Barcelona had earned 65 million when they hadn't. Maybe there'll be something similar here. Again, Barcelona can pump up, Manchester City, can pump up that net spend that they love to talk about so much, and Barcelona can write down that they've just received X amount of money for Frenkie de Jong. Personally, I still think United and Chelsea are the two main targets for him. I can't imagine that Barcelona sign another big player this window. Surely they can't sign Bernardo Silva as well. Who knows? They wanted Azpilicueta, didn't they? And he's just signed a new contract at Chelsea, so maybe the funds are there for them. Get your comments in. I am Nasty One talking about Ziyech. I think he says, if it's for 8 million, it's a no-brainer. If it works out, then great. If it doesn't, Anthony next year. I tend to agree with that personally. Daniela says that Fabrizio Romano just tweeted that Pep wants Silva to stay. I haven't seen that tweet. Assuming that's correct, Pep's obviously going to say that, isn't he? Because he wants the most money possible for Bernardo Silva. He also probably wants to keep Bernardo Silva. That doesn't mean that he gets his way, unfortunately. That's how football works. Omar says, United should have had this wrapped up a long time ago. They quite clearly haven't got an option B if this doesn't work out. Same old issues again. Here's my frustration with this. United clearly want a deep-lying, ball-playing midfielder. That's what Frenkie de Jong is. I know he can play as an 8. I know he can, dribble up and down the pitch. I know he's not someone that sits quite in front of the defence like Michael Carrick did, but he is someone that can receive the ball off the defence and give it to the attackers competently and continuously. That's what he does so well. He either gives it to them by dribbling towards them and laying the ball off, or he gives it to them by turning on the half-turn and spraying balls out forward. That's what Frenkie de Jong does, right? He's a ball-playing, deep-line midfielder. Surely there is a deep-lying, ball-playing midfielder that is valued between 15 and 30 million quid that could do a better job than McTominay and Fred at that role. Surely there is an option B that is affordable and maybe slightly under the radar, maybe a bit younger, or maybe a bit older, maybe someone who's 31, 32, who's been around a long time, that could come in as a backup to Frenkie de Jong. Or maybe our scouting department believes that there is no one in that kind of, relatively cheaper price bracket that is better than Scott McTominay at picking the ball up off the defence and bringing the ball forward. I can't imagine that's the case. So I don't quite understand why there is no plan B. And maybe that's just because they want Frenkie de Jong to really know how much they want him and using that as a device to try and, turn his head towards Manchester United. But surely there is someone around Europe, ideally maybe someone who's playing in the bottom half of the French division or, in the Portuguese league, who is between 15 and 30 million quid that could do a better job than the players we have now. I don't believe that player doesn't exist. So if we don't sign someone, I think that's a failure of the Manchester United scouting department, not some, mission to get Frankie de Jong. We could sign someone for 30 million now and still get Frankie de Jong next year and still have spent less money than we usually do. United spent 60 million quid this summer. That's what fucking Sheffield United spend. That's not enough to compete with the teams around us. At the end of last season, United was short in the striker's position and in the defensive midfield position. We've signed 0 players in either of those positions. That's just not something that's going to help Erik ten Hag. His back is going to be against the wall so badly if we don't sign anyone in either of those positions, if you ask me. People talking Lima, Sangare. Again, these players could be great, and I'm not saying no to these, obviously. But there has to be other people as well. Like, these players are great. Maybe they would be good enough. But there has to be at least 4 or 5 players around Europe between 15 and 30 million that we could sign to improve our midfield. I don't believe there isn't. And if United can't find them, that's a problem with United, I think. Anyway, that's going to be all from me. Also, if you are a member, we have our Fantasy Premier League league out now. It's up and running, isn't it? Yeah, it is. We'll put the link to that in the community section. So if you're a member, head over to the community section and you'll see all the details there. We'll put it in the Facebook group as well for the members. And there's £100 winner's prize as well. So if you win that at the end of the season, you get 100 quid. And if you're a member, it's free entry. If you're not a member, sign up now, become a member, and you can gain access to our Fantasy Premier League. The link is in the community section. Make sure you head over there and find that and get signed up quickly. That's going to be all from me. We'll be back with the brew later on today. We've got a surprise guest in for that one as well. So that's going to be excellent. Make sure you tune in for that. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you in a bit.